The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that 2 dirty bombs will explode in Manhattan in New York City, and there will be a large-scale evacuation from Manhattan Island on March 22nd, 2025. The date that this video is posted proves it is being made, this prediction, ahead of time, as does this email, as we can see here, which was composed on March 13th. Okay, if you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward it to you. But of course, it doesn't make any sense to be skeptical given the post date of the video. Now, the prophetic sign we will discuss here that reveals this prediction is the meeting between Trump and the Secretary of NATO in the Oval Office, during which they discussed Greenland. That was a big news story on the day. Trump was asked a question about Greenland, and Trump realized it was the perfect setting to be answering in front of the leader of NATO. And this was also just a couple of days after the election in Greenland that was instigated or by Trump and his ambition for Greenland. So, the day that Trump met the NATO secretary and discussed Greenland was before the night of the blood moon lunar eclipse. Okay, so hours later, just hours later, was the blood moon lunar eclipse, a prophetic sign in the night sky. It was centered over America, and it touched Greenland. In fact, the capital city of Greenland, which I believe there's only really one city, and it's, from what I recall, 57,000 people. It's a very small city. And anyway, that city, Nuuk, N-U-U-K, however you pronounce it, was really literally right at the line of the 100%, a viewing point of the 100% of the blood moon. In other words, you can look on a map where the totality of the moon will be, the blood moon, completely eclipsed, turning red. You could argue that the boundary of where you could see it and where you couldn't see 100% of the full moon, of the lunar eclipse, was right at Nuuk, and therefore pointing to Nuuk. Which is interesting, given that the big news story of the day was Trump talking about Greenland with the NATO secretary. I mean, Trump talks about Greenland from time to time, but what makes it a sign is him talking about it with the secretary of NATO, and thereby being a big story of that day. Because in that discussion, Trump hinted at how NATO could be involved with this annexation of Greenland. Okay? In other words, it's also about defense, and God is communicating the collapse of America's security, which is all symbolism. It's not about Greenland, and it's not about the NATO secretary. It's about security, symbolism for security. Also, Greenland is part of this pattern that God is using with the color green, for symbolism for a few things, including the green horse in the book of Revelation, one of the 4 horses of the apocalypse. This rider of the horse's name is Death, and one of the methods this rider of the pale green horse kills people is with the sword, and that would be symbolism for war or a bomb. And green, pale green, the color of the horse, is the color of plutonium when it's oxidized. And we are predicting plutonium nuclear weapons grade material, dirty bombs exploding in Manhattan, thus triggering the evacuation. So the day that Trump met trumpet, God's trumpet that he uses to trumpet and highlight his prophetic signs in archaic English, the word trump means trumpet or the sounding of a trumpet. The day that trumpet met the NATO secretary and trumpeted Greenland was hours before the blood moon lunar eclipse that I think could be argued pointed to Greenland through its capital being right on the border of the visibility of the blood moon. Now, Trumpet met the NATO secretary and discussed Greenland, or trumpeted Greenland, 9 days after he said the US would annex Greenland in his speech that began at 9 p.m. The number 9 is the most important number in God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, as from the Bible, the number 9 symbolizes God's judgment. Okay, so Trump trumpeted Greenland 9 days after he said he would annex Greenland in his speech, his joint address speech to the Joint Congress that began at 9 p.m. On the day trumpet, let's see, do I say it? When he said this in the speech, Trump said he would get it one way or another. That was, and there was a few laughs because it was, okay. Anyway, so we've got 9 days from the 9 p.m. speech. On the day that Trumpet met the NATO secretary and discussed Greenland, a U.S. district judge ordered the Trump administration to reinstate 9,000 employees. That's a confirmation for the 9 days from the 9 p.m. Okay, from the 9 p.m. speech, it is 9 days from Greenland to Greenland sign. These are the signs. There's no other dates. I mean, there may be Greenland in the news, but Trump during the speech and Trump during the NATO secretary meeting in the Oval Office, these are the symbolic dates for Trump trumpeting Greenland. And they are 9 days apart, and one of the signs began at 9 p.m. At the other end of the 9 days, we have this other big news story of the day regarding Trump and his administration, with this judge dictating the reinstatement of 9,000 employees. So that's another confirmation of the 9 days from the 9 p.m. speech. Because the 9,000 employees story is the day of the Greenland trumpet in the NATO, in the Oval Office with the NATO secretary. A second judge in Maryland on the same day ordered the reinstatement of another 2,000 employees, thus making this a total of 11,000 employees on this day, ordered to be reinstated on the day of the blood moon. That's a hint at 9 and 11. 9,000 employees and then 11,000 employees, and also the articles say that. The articles don't even say it was an extra 2,000. It said for a total of 11,000. So 9 and 11. Okay, and so, which gives us 9/11 symbolism. And it was in Manhattan that the events of 9/11 took place, and we are predicting these 2 dirty bombs in Manhattan. I think I just jumped ahead of myself, but that's why the 2 judges, 2 dirty bombs, 2 planes that struck 2 towers on 9/11. The 2 men in the Oval Office, the NATO leader and Trump. Okay, 9 days after the 9,000 employees order to reinstate them will be, or predicted, the 2 dirty green bombs in New York City, where 2 planes struck 2 towers on 9/11. Green bombs because, again, plutonium is the color green. That's why Greenland. The two predicted green bombs will be 9 days after Trumpet with the NATO secretary when they discussed Greenland on the day of the blood moon and the order to reinstate 9,000 employees because of the two judges. And there was a second judge as well. And it was two men in the Oval Office. Okay. This was in turn 9 days after trumpeted Greenland at the joint address that in a speech that began at 9 p.m. in which he said he would take Greenland one way or the other. The order to reinstate fired employees on the day of the blood moon is part of the theme of genocide that will occur in the U.S. This is this theme in God's signs, that there are many signs for this theme of the coming politicide and genocide. And for those that are wise, they will already recognize that we are in the middle stages of the 10 stages of genocide in America, with the left perpetrating a genocide, politicide on their enemies, true conservatives and true Christians. It feels like there's a bit of a lull right now, but it's coming. What I mean by lull is because it was more intense during the CVD years, with them using the CVD as a political weapon. But that's just the art of the targeting of their enemy will be more precise in the coming years, in a couple of years from now. Okay, but what is happening right now is the groundwork is being laid with the rounding up. The rounding up of the illegal aliens is a foreshadow, a practice, a laying down the government infrastructure, if you will, to being able to carry out mass rounding ups into internment camps of their political enemies. Okay, and that all may sound pretty shocking to a lot of people, I realize, but the prediction in this video will prove this, and this is the purpose of this prediction, is to give you the heads up of what is coming. This prediction that is from God, not me. And it will prove that this is God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, and the many, many other signs confirm what I've just said, and so it'll prove that this is the true big picture of signs, and therefore what I'm saying is true. So that's why, that's the symbolism in the fired employees, because these employee cuts signs, the reduction of the population of the government in Washington, D.C., is symbolism for the reduction of the population in a politicide, which is why it's all about, which is why these these reductions in the workforce of government is about politics. It's a politicide. It's a type of genocide. Incidentally, the big politicide of the 20th century was in Indonesia, which is why the 44th president grew up in Indonesia for 4 years. It was to point to that, because of course he will be leading the politicide when he becomes the president again. What needs to be added here to the end of this video is that the reason this prophetic sign involving Greenland, which hints at the green-colored plutonium in dirty bombs that are predicted to explode on March 22nd, the reason for this trumpet sign involving Greenland in the Oval Office with the Secretary of NATO is because NATO is or will be behind the predicted dirty bombs. The DEEP state, this is what God's signs communicate, but it will not come as a surprise to many people that know many things about what is really going on. And what you need to do also is watch this video that I've titled Dirty Bombs, New York City, Zelensky, NATO. The second video I produced with this prediction, regarding this prediction. And NATO is evil. It is a sin. I explain that, from the Bible, entangling alliances, as Washington put it and warned of, George Washington. The entangling military alliances such as NATO are a sin from the Bible. And I explain more. I'm not going to explain it again. So watch this other video.